So you were in Detroit for 5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
6 years, I think.
6 years. Okay.
Yeah, 6 years.
Number one, why do you feel that you guys were called the Bad Boys?
Because people considered what we did bad. But we considered what we did basketball. And it was so funny. Every legend that ever walks up to us and says anything to me or to any of my teammates, they talk about, man, you guys played the way the game's supposed to be played. Like, there used to be a rule. If you were a little guy and you came trying to lay the ball up and all of a sudden you went up and a guy knocked you down trying to block your shot, that was not a foul. Stay out of the lane. Jump shots. That was the mentality. A lot of these cats. And then, you know what? Michael, and I understand the league, Michael Jordan was the future. And we were putting him on his back.
Right, because there was a rivalry.
Yeah, we made a rivalry.
Did you have a relationship with Michael Jordan at that time?
That's my frat brother.
Outside the...
Yeah. I know Michael since 1981, man. I saw him. I came to visit Georgia Tech when they were playing North Carolina. And, you know, got to be back there and see him. And then my first year, I got to be cool. And then I just was always, you know, cool with cats.
Yeah.
And he went pro. He come in Atlanta. I go hang out with him. He didn't know anybody. So I've been with MJ a long time. And then, like, when I was doing my first late night talk show, MJ was one of my guests. So, yeah, it was always my man. Great guy. But if it's him or me, I'd rather it be me.
Right. So while you're with Detroit, Isaiah Thomas and Dennis Rodman said that Larry Bird was getting all that publicity because he was white.
One way of saying it. That's not what he said. So what he said is, they were talking about Bird. And he said, Dennis said, you wouldn't be talking so much about him if he was just if he was a black guy like the rest of us. You making a big thing because he's white. And then Isaiah comes in from the shower and they go, Isaiah, one of your teammates says, and Isaiah's like, yeah, I guess so. Like, think about it, right? Larry Bird was my favorite player. The Celtics was my favorite team growing up. The reason the Celtics was my favorite team growing up, and I'm not a Knicks fan, is because they win. They were the first team to hire a black coach in the 50s. They let the whole squad be run by this cat named Bill Russell. Mm-hmm. Cassie Russell. They had, not Cassie, they had Satchel. JoJo White I remember seeing. Casey Jones. I mean, these guys were being called all kind of names, right? Stuff that we now go, oh, they're being called out on a regular, on the team they played for. Yeah, that's my favorite team. Those are my favorite kind of guys. So to say that about Larry, you know, was ridiculous because Larry's probably, I always said, they said, who's the greatest player that ever played to you? And I said, Magic, Larry, Irving, Bird. Like Magic and him are one to me. And they both will give you headaches. So they were the best players to play, to me, that I played with. I think Michael was deadly. Scored 62 on us twice, I think it was. I mean, this dude is no joke. But man, you get into the Garden and Larry would make things happen. Mm. So I think out of frustration, because it was so much hoopla, and it was so much, it was such a struggle too at that time. That black struggle became a thing in 1989. They came out with Fight the Power. They came out with Do the Right Thing. Yeah. Well, this was said in 1987. So you can see where the tension was already bounded. You just saw it in sports.
Right, because in Do the Right Thing, that scene with that white guy, when they stepped on Bugging Out sneaker, he was wearing a Larry Bird jersey.
Yeah, because Spike hates Bird. Spike hates the Celtics, and he hated Bird. But that was one of the ways, and that was that time. It was that time, you know what I'm saying? So you have to understand where Dennis was coming from. Was he wrong to say that? That's what he felt. I don't believe it that. I think Larry Bird, just like Jackie Robinson, transcended that color thing and good enough to play.
Yeah. So you finish off your contract in Detroit, then you go to Miami.
Yeah.
And that's when you get a big check,
I get a bigger check.
bigger check.
Yeah, now I'm getting into the music business. So you know what happened to that check.
So how much did you get in Miami?
I have 12 million.
12 million for how many years?
4 years.
So 3 million a year.
Yeah,
Okay, which is quite a bit bigger than Detroit.
much better.
Yeah. Had you worked out your money issues by that point? No, not at all.
No, it was like each time it was like coming off of air. You know what I'm saying? So
So you were paycheck to paycheck.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of time. And then I wind up having a tax situation,
Yeah.
which is obvious. You're going to have that. And my lawyer filed bankruptcy on himself, which was a trip.
Yeah.
It kept showing up.
And I've always said this, and people don't always understand when I say it. You know, as someone who's had ups and downs, who's been homeless to being, you know, at a comfortable level, I've always said that until your money is making money, you're broke.
Yeah. So I also tell people this. All those guys on Wall Street that jumped out of windows because they went broke. They were just embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? So some of the smartest people on the planet, when people look at, man, these athletes doing, some of the smartest people on the planet went broke. So it's a deal to understand this communication or this language of money. It's a language.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely a language. It's a language, and it's you got to be disciplined. No, you don't. You just have to understand the language.
Right. Because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it doesn't matter what that paycheck is.
Right.
It does not matter.
Right.
You could be making $1 million a month, and you could be broke by the end of the year.
And it's funny you put it that way, but even make it simple. You really only living breath to breath, right? I mean, because people die with a lot of money in the bank,
Yeah.
right? And then you go, wow, my God, now you got to give it to people to drink your booze, sleep with your woman, and sleep in your bed. Like, you know, I wind up I change the relationship with money.
Yeah.
I don't worship it.
Well, you said you started a music label?
Yeah, man, my first label was called BAM, By All Means Music, and I had my first group I signed was Slum Village.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
From
and
Detroit?
My first
With
artist
Jay Dilla?
Yeah, that was I got a painted picture from John Bourne of Jay Dilla, three pieces, and then I had Tony Rich, which got
Right.
And then I let Tony. It was funny. He said, "Man, LA said I gotta get a contract release from you, and I'm gonna be writing music down there."
L.A. Reid?
Yeah, and I was like, "Hey, cool," because you know I'm not stopping anybody.
Okay, so when you signed Slum Village, was Jay Dilla already working with Tribe Called Quest or no?
No, it was just nobody knew who they were.
Oh, so
Dog,
you
I took them to New York, and they picked Digital Planets over Slum Village.
which was a cool group too.
It wasn't Slum Village.
It wasn't Slum Village.
I'm gonna be very, 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 very one-sided.
They
were
did
cool.
have a hit record though. Slum Village never had that hit record.
Yeah, but everybody is still learning how to produce from Dilla.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
That's
so
true.
it's something.
So you go to Miami, you get to Miami, you get a much bigger check, you're spending more money. Now, how many years did you spend in Miami?
92 to 95. Then I was in the expansion draft to Toronto.
Toronto, right.
To get out of my Toronto deal, so we get there. The Bulls want me that summer. And Isaiah is saying they're not giving him enough. And he's like, Sal, we can make this like the hottest city. But we need them all partying before we play the night before. You know what I'm saying? That mentality. We need some help. And we had a whole bunch of people that was thrown from teams that, you know, teams wanted to unload. And I got to a point where it was Damon Stoudemire's first year too. And I just got to a point I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to do it at that level. I wanted to be out. I'd come to Hollywood and pitched the show, and they picked it up. I was like, this is my future in television. And I had to give back $750,000 that was on the back of my deal in order for Isaiah to release me. So I had to give away $750,000 for my freedom. And that's exactly what I said. I said, I'm a free slave. I paid for my freedom. I own my rights. Now, people didn't like it. But it's exactly what happened. You ever know when they put a play on waivers, meaning this property, this contract is for sale. Any team who can pick you up off of waivers, the team that put you on waivers pays the end of that year, but then they have to pick up the contract. I own those waivers. So just like my man Carmelo, another one I love, I determine where my life is going to be. You're not going to send me somewhere because you feel like it. And then Jerry Krause was calling the Chicago Bulls, and that was a no-brainer.